Hey, welcome to the live stream. Today we're going over government job questions about USAJobs.gov, about the federal hiring process, everything like that. I'm going to be answering questions that were previously submitted, and then I'm going to look in the chat. If you have a question, drop it into the chat. But before we get into that, I have to share with you a call that I had earlier this week. A guy called me, wanted me to look at his resume, and as I was looking at it, he had about 15 years of experience. First position, there was 10 years of experience. Do you know how many bullets he had for achievements? He had 2 bullets. And I asked him, I said, what's going on here? You have a decade of experience. Why is there only 2 bullets? And he said, well, I can't really recall much else that I did. So I'm going to tell you what I told him because you could be interested in the same thing, increasing the probability of getting hired by making a stronger resume. I would deeply encourage it. And it comes down to the OPM Job Series Handbook. Now, this person was looking for IT. I'm going to show you on the screen right here. If you are interested in IT or if you're not, it doesn't really matter. You still probably should go to the OPM Job Series Handbook. So let's check it out. This is 2210. If you want IT, then you want this job series. Now, as you can see, there are 11 areas in IT. This person, he wanted to focus on information security, and that's not a problem. Each one of these areas, it has a description on the type of experience that you would typically have if you're competing for that position. If you go down here to the third one, you're going to see information security. So what this person probably should have is for every bullet here, they need to think on how their experience relates. So they probably should read this right here. Conduct risk and vulnerability assessments. Have you done that? If you have, input an achievement that you can speak towards this, or even 2 or 3. Same thing with promoting awareness of security issues. When did that happen? Conducting system security evaluations and audits. What about contingency plans? This is kind of a guide that will help you start to create a stronger base resume towards the job series. And that's what I talk about so much. What job series are you focused in? If you're focused on multiple, consider multiple resumes. Build it off of this. That is what I told him, and the conversation lasted about 20-25 minutes. Now you know this, you can do it for yourself, okay? All right, with that being said, let's jump right into the previously submitted questions. So the first one. Is it difficult? This is from God's Favor. Is it difficult to get another job offer from the agency you originally declined? Do they frown upon that? No, they do not. And I believe there's somewhat of a misconception when we're looking at an agency. We're thinking that if we apply to one agency, we're applying through the same people, and that's not the case. So an agency has multiple sub-agencies, divisions underneath it. So even though you're applying to, let's say, the Department of Agriculture, that doesn't mean that you're applying to the same sub-agency or the same division. And even if you are, there's different offices within that division. So the government is actually enormous, even within a federal agency. Even the smaller agencies are sectioned off that way. So you can apply multiple times. You can even interview multiple times, and it's not going to be an issue. Why do people decline job offers? Most people understand why. There's either a better opportunity, or when you were in the interview room, you discussed the job duties and it didn't line up to the job announcement. And if the job announcement isn't lining up with the actual duties you're going to be expected to do, that's a red flag for a lot of people, and it should be. So there's nothing wrong with that. Or even further than that, let's say the person on the interview panel that identified as the hiring manager, you knew they were going to be your future supervisor, and you got a bad vibe. You didn't like their personality. Something was off-putting, and you have other offers. So there's nothing that says that you have to work at the Department of Agriculture. You can go ahead and decide, I'm going to work at the Department of Justice or the Department of Energy or whatever the case is. But don't feel bad for rejecting the job offer, and continue to apply to any and all job announcements that you feel you're a good fit for. Good question, though. Good question. Next question. Catholic Guide asks, I got a GS-11 in Los Angeles, and I may get another GS-11 offer in Oklahoma. Would Oklahoma match me to what I'm currently getting? If you're a GS-11 in Los Angeles, they're not going to match your pay. What they will match is your grade and your step. So let's say you're a GS-11 Step 5 in Los Angeles. Well, if you accept another GS-11 in Oklahoma, you can transfer over and they'll keep you at step 5, but there's a huge difference in step 5 if you're comparing the two areas. The locality pay doesn't transfer. You have to fall under the new locality pay. So you could be ended up, let's say, in Los Angeles, comparing it to Oklahoma, you're looking at $5, $6, $7, maybe even $8,000 difference, even though it's the same grade, it's the same step. And it's just because Los Angeles is such a high cost living area and the locality is a lot larger than Oklahoma. But good question for that. And you can't negotiate that. People call me for that reason as well. Can I negotiate it? I don't want to lose any pay. Well, to the agency, they're keeping you at the exact grade and step, so there is no negotiation. Okay, next question. I'm a GS-12 with 4 years of experience and 15 years of experience in the private sector. When applying to GS-13s, from my experience, they are internal only. Do they want more government experience or private sector experience? Okay, so both. You're going to use both. If the job announcement is an internal, that means you have to be a federal government employee to even apply. So they're going to be looking at your government experience. But that doesn't take away from your private sector experience. You put both, right? So the job announcement is going to have specialized experience they want you to have. How can you qualify for this job? So you look through there and you're going to make your resume relevant. So your private sector experience, I hope, is relevant to the job you're applying to. And so is your government experience. It should be, right? So I would use both. Yeah, so if you don't know where you're at, I don't know exactly where you're located at, but if you want to find GS-13 positions that are not internal, you could do a filter on USAJobs and you can search through those job announcements and you can find something that's not internal. I don't think internal should be a huge decision-making point anyway. If anything, it could potentially benefit you because they're only looking for people within that agency. But either way, apply for what you know you're qualified for. All right. Good question. Let's jump in the chat. Let's see what we got. Anything in the chat? Nana, good morning. It was great meeting you yesterday at Fairfax for a copy of your book. It was really nice meeting you as well. I had an opportunity to do a small event in Fairfax, Virginia. I met about 7 people. Nana was there. Lily was there. Eric was there. I really appreciate you guys coming out. I was able to look at your resume and you picked up a copy of the book. And the book, by the way, if you haven't purchased it yet, check it out. This is Government Job Secrets. This is a quick read, 2 hours. Get a copy of that book on Amazon, link in the description below, and it's going to set you up for success and increase the probability of you actually getting a government job quicker than if you went at it alone. All right, next question. Tony, hello, Armand. How does FERS work for a term government employee? I'm on a role that can be extended no more than 8 years. How does FERS compare to permanent employee? So either you're covered by FERS or you're not covered by FERS. If you're covered by FERS, the time is going to be calculated on, it comes down to your full-time, how many hours you're working as far as full-time, part-time. So part-time, I don't know how many hours you're working. Is it an intermittent position where you're only on call? I'm not sure of that information. I would look and see, look at your job offer and see what type of position that you currently hold. If you're, even if you're term, let's say you're temporary, but you're doing, I don't know, 3-4 years, all that time would count. It should count. So 5 years to be fully vested, even if you're term a full 5 years, you should be fully vested. But in your particular circumstance, Tony, I would contact your HR for your agency and have them clarify it. That's probably going to be your best course of action. But thank you for the question. Dana, good morning. Hi, Armand. I received a tentative job offer for an analyst role. In excitement, I forgot to ask HR the GS grade and step. How do I negotiate the salary without the GS grade and step? That is really interesting because no HR specialist should be extending job offers without the grade on there. How do you know if you even want to accept it? So it looks like, did you accept it already? I received it. You received it, but you didn't ask. If you received it, I would respond back to the email and ask them what grade is this position going to be at. Now for the step, 99% or close to it of agencies, they're always going to extend a step 1. So let's say it's a GS-12. They're going to give you a GS-12 step 1. Now it's on you at that point to go ahead and respond back and let them know that you intend on negotiating your step level, submit the memo in order to negotiate that. But I believe this is an oversight of them extending you a job offer without the grade. Now, what you could potentially do is look at the job announcement that's associated with that position and see, is it just a singular grade, or perhaps you applied on a promotion ladder, so it could potentially be multiple grades. So the job announcement might give you a hint, but the best thing to do is to reply and to ask them. And they should be responding to, what is it, Sunday right now? So sometime in this upcoming week, they should be able to get back and let you know exactly. But congratulations on the job offer. Fitness Boost. Good morning, Fitness. Good morning. I appreciate the information you gave me yesterday. Robert from Springfield, Missouri. Oh yeah, we had a nice conversation. I appreciate that. Thank you. Dana comes back and asks, I sent HR the link for the grade-in step. It's been 2 days since she stated she would send the link. What do I do? This is a waiting game at this particular point for you. If HR, say the HR representative is corresponding with you, if there are other people on the to line or the CC line, I would reply all. And if at some point during your communication, if those people dropped off, I would see who was originally on the to line and add those people so you can get increased awareness. But other than that, it looks like you're going to have to be waiting. Good morning, TB. Barth, I am medically retired from the Air Force. Does the 6-month rule apply to me since I didn't complete 20 years? So the 6-month rule, what you're talking about is DOD. So there's a rule, if you don't know, for anybody else who might be in the military. If you retire from the military, you're not able to accept a Department of Defense job within 180 days. Now, there are waivers to this. There are exceptions. Just like most rules, there's an exception. But generally speaking, that's what it is. So most people that are retiring, I would tell them, don't focus on DOD unless you have to, right? Look at all these other agencies. We have over 400 federal agencies in the government right now. Look at the other agencies for opportunities. VA, there is no stipulation like that. For none of the other agencies is there a stipulation like that. To answer your question, a retirement is a retirement is a retirement. So the way that they're going to look at it is it is a retirement. So it could potentially hold you up from applying to DOD positions. Now, the only reason I would make DOD your #1 focus is because of your location. Maybe you're right outside of a military base and that location, or it could be that you are highly specialized in a certain area that DOD wants. And if that's the case, great, because they'll do a waiver for you. So consider that. Okay, what do we got here? Got the book on Audible. Great, I appreciate you, Nan. Thank you for that. All right, we'll do one more question, then we'll go back to the previously submitted. I appreciate, this is Mohammed. Mohammed, good morning. I appreciate all your help and efforts. I have 2 job offers as a 0801 engineer, GS11 at HUD, and another 2210 as an IT specialist, GS12 at IRS, but I don't know which one I should pick. It all comes down to what's important to you, right? What do you value? Because obviously IRS is going to pay you more. Do you value money more? As far as culture, it's going to depend somewhat. I don't want to speak too much. I don't want to speak too much about HUD, but IRS, I've heard mixed things about IRS, and it could be a great culture depending on where the office is at. Is this in Washington, D.C., or is this in another state in another city? You can look at best places to work. There's a ranking list, and it ranks the agencies, and it tells you exactly. And it's been a while since I've done this, so why don't we go ahead and do this right now? I'm going to go ahead and show you what I'm talking about. So this is best places to work, and it's done every year. It's done by the Boston Consulting Group, and it's pretty good information. So let's check this out. Okay, so you go here. You should be able to see rankings. And it looks like we got lost. Okay. So it breaks it down by the different agencies, right? So you can do large, mid-size, small subcomponents. So you have IRS's Department of Treasury. And another thing you could do, if you don't know whether it's a large, mid-size, or a small, or a subcomponent, you could just search it down here. So let's go IRS, and we have IRS. So IRS is a subcomponent because the parent agency is Department of Treasury. It ranks 322 out of 459, so it's at the bottom quarter, I would say. And you can say, why? Why is it ranked so low? Well, look at this. This is a really good area. It looks like they have good leadership. But why are they ranked low? It looks like recognition. That's one of the main reasons. Employee input, pay. Pay is one of the reasons that people aren't happy there. Work-life balance is pretty decent though. And then if DEI is up there. So, and then you can look at satisfaction trends. So how happy have people been within the last couple of decades? It looks like it's on the up. If you look at the last 2 decades, the satisfaction's at probably an all-time high. Then you can see how IRS has been growing. You see this right here, ever since 2018, they have been expanding. They're one of the agencies that have been hiring the absolute most throughout the government. Not as much as DOD, but still, they're hiring a lot. And then you can see right here, the majority of the agency happens to be female. And then you can look at race and you can look at those demographics as well. So look at this, compare it to the other agency that you'd like, and then make your choice. But I know for most people, pay would be a huge choice. So GS 12 over 11, unless the 11 had a promotion ladder, let's say it goes from 11 to 13. Well, then that's a whole different dynamic you have to consider, right? Okay, good question. All right, let's get back to the previously submitted. Where are we at with that? Okay. All right, so the next question is, I applied to 7 remote GS 13, 1082, 1083. Out of 4 job announcements that are closed, I got referred 4 times with my 15-page resume. Still applying. Could you go over a possible question someone prepare for in an interview? Thank you. I know you always talk about success stories. This is from Elena. Elena, thank you for that question. So what we're going to do with this, 1082, 1083, that's a writer editor. So one thing that you could do, the first thing is if you're preparing for an interview, you can look at the job announcement. You can look at specialized experience, you can look at duties, you can look at the questionnaire. But if you don't know exactly which job announcement will give you the interview and you just kind of want to have a general idea on what you should prepare for, which it seems like you're asking me, you're going to prepare for situational behavioral questions. And one of the things that you can also use the OPM Job Series Handbook. So check this out. This is for the 1082, 1083. This is for writers. You see this? It says there's 6 lists here. It says obtaining, analyzing information. It says determining overall length and tone based on the objectives. So you could prepare and have a success story for each one of these if you could. And then if you're an editor, you would do it for these 6 reasons. So that's one way that you can start to prepare for your situational and behavioral questions. Now they're going to ask you, let's say for instance, for editor, you want to be an editor. They might potentially ask you, please describe to us a time where you edited text for clarity and accuracy and what was the result. And that's when you go ahead and you unleash one of your success stories to prove that you have the experience and you have it at a high level. That's what you would do with that one. Okay. Success stories are the answer though. They will also ask like typical questions about describe a time you disagree with a coworker or your supervisor, what happened. And you want to make sure you have thoughtful questions at the end where you're asking about the organization and how they do things there. Don't make it all about yourself. Okay, next question. Shannon, I started a GS-12 project manager position recently, and what a joke. I am way overqualified in project management for this checkboxing admin job. What are my options? Well, the options, there's 2 options. You can leave or you can stay. So you're GS-12 right now. You don't find the work stimulating, the work is not challenging. There's nothing stopping you from applying to other positions. You just started this job. You can start applying right now for open to the public. You can look at GS-13, GS-14. You might find some of those more challenging. You might have more responsibility in those type of roles. This also really kind of depends. I don't know your background. Let's say you have over a decade of experience and you've been a supervisor at a high level. At that point, maybe you should look at GS-15. If your non-government experience supports it, you can consider it. What about senior executive? If you really want a more challenging, time-sucking job, there's senior executive position, senior leadership roles. There's all kinds of different options out there if GS-12 is not cutting it for you. And it's good that you identify that early because now you can go ahead and do something about it. But okay. What else we have? Next question. Elias asks, my application is under consideration for a state job. I also got a job for the IRS. I got an offer for the IRS as a clerk and would like to move up in IT. Any thoughts? Well, that's all over the place, but okay. Hey, state government is a great option for a lot of people that the federal jobs are just not there. And I know that's a lot of people. So consider state, county, and city. All those government jobs, a lot of them, most of them offer pensions. They have good benefits. Now, as far as you have a job offer, so congratulations for that. It's a clerk. I'm guessing it's probably on the lower level, probably GS5 to GS7. You can accept that. I would probably accept it because at least now you have something. Now, after you accept that, go ahead and see how the state job plays out. Which one pays more? You're going to be doing like a benefit analysis, right? You're going to be like, okay, how are the benefits over here? If you look at, I did a video recently on New York State. Their pension is way better than the federal government, like a lot better. Like I believe, I can't recall the exact number, but let's say a person's making $100,000 in the government and in the state of New York. If that's their high three after 20 years, New York State's like $36,000 a year compared to like $23,000 a year. It's over $10,000 better in that circumstance. The calculation just favors you more. So whatever state you're at, look at their pension calculation. See what they offer in terms of benefits. What is the salary? Look at all that. Leave accrual, the whole thing. And then look at it compared to the federal government. Now, you want to move into IT, I can talk to you about it from a federal perspective. I just spoke about it in the beginning of this live stream. You can go back and listen to that, or I'll just give it to you real quick. There's 11 areas within IT. Most of it is in the 2210 job series. The other job series is the 1500. If you have a degree in computer science, look at 1550. That is literally computer science, 1550. Outside of that, you're going to need some experience. So if you're in a job right now and you were able to accumulate IT experience, you want to emphasize that on your resume. Let's say you take this IRS clerk job. While you're doing that, you're going to volunteer to do IT tasks. Like, hey, the IT specialist in this office, they're asking for this. I want to help them. Can I do that? Ask your supervisor. Sometimes they'll say yes. As long as you're doing your job, they don't mind you doing extra work. You can do the extra work. Then put that extra work on your resume so you can get credit for it. So there's a lot of different ways that you could do it. You can even volunteer off duty and start gaining some of that experience. So there's just a lot of variables depending on the context of your question. Okay, let's look at some of the comments. All right, we have Dana. If you accept the offer, can you still send the salary negotiation email before the final job offer? Yes, you can. Yes, you absolutely can. TKB, hi Armand, started my new job as a GS13 last Monday. Thank you so much for your excellent advice. You're welcome, TKB. I'm glad I could help you out. Next one, Mr. Dukas. Good morning, Armand. Thanks for taking the time to answer. My recent job interview had nothing to do with the position described on USAJobs.gov. Is this a red flag? It can be. Man, I really hate it when that happens. It happens, though. And it could be. So the first thing is, you want to get a sense for the people that were on the panel. Like, would you want to work with that group? Hopefully you identified who the hiring manager was, who the supervisor was. What was the vibe you were getting off of that person? Could you see yourself working with that person? This could be a disconnect from the hiring manager, the office, and human resources. Now, I don't know whose fault it is. Is it HR's fault? Is it the office's fault? It could be a new hiring manager. I mean, there's no telling. But there was a disconnect. I wouldn't immediately write it off. So if you went in there and you had a good vibe, a good impression of the people that were there, and when you asked the questions towards the end, like, hey, what is this position going to be focused in on the first 6 months? What are some of the pain points in your organization? And they were able to talk to you and you can see yourself on that team. And provided that you did well on the interview, maybe consider taking it. Also research that agency, research that office and see. If you have other offers, you know, maybe that's a different perspective you're going to have to take. Like these other ones seem so much better because they actually represented what was on the job announcement, and this one was way off in left field. That's your right. That's your prerogative. Which one do you want to choose? I wouldn't immediately write off the agency or the job offer, but it is an indicator and it's something worth considering. Okay. We have Farhan. Good morning, Farhan. I accepted a DCMA grade 11 step 1 in the DC area. Congratulations on your job offer. I requested a higher step and denied. Is there anything that I can do for negotiations? At this particular point, I would say no. Now, I'm really curious, how did you request negotiating? Did you just email and say, hey, I'd like to negotiate. Can I get a step, whatever? Or did you submit a memo that had supporting documentation that proved you had experience that made you a superiorly qualified candidate? Because those are the three words we're focused on. Superiorly qualified candidate. Because that's what's in the OPM policy. You can read it and it tells you agencies are authorized to give you a higher step level. But if you're not using those words, if you're not providing the support and documentation, if you're not sending the memo explaining exactly why, highlighting your years of experience, highlighting your education that's relevant, highlighting your awards that you potentially received for doing tasks that are relevant to the job. If you're not doing any of that, maybe they just say no. Now, an agency does not have to negotiate with you. And sometimes agencies will have policies saying they don't do it. They don't do it. And one of the reasons why they don't do it, I believe, it's not a money issue, because the positions are budgeted all the way up to step 10 for most agencies. So it's not a money issue, usually. It's more of a retention type issue, right? Because if they start you off at a higher step and there's no promotion potential, there's no incentive to continue to go, right? Usually the first 3 years, people are going to stick around because every 12 months there's a step increase. So you accept a job, let's say GS 13 step 1. You wait 12 months, now you're a step 2. You wait 12 months, now you're a step 3. Now, when you go from 4 to 5, now it's 24 months. And when you go from 8 to 9, now it's 36 months. So the incentive to stay for the first 3 years is kind of built in to the way the step advancements work. And if you're asking for a higher step, some people could look at it like, okay, what would be the incentive to actually keep this type of person, especially if it's a high turnover type position. So that was a whole lot to say. I'm sorry to inform you that the answer is probably no at this point, since they already declined negotiating. Okay. Next question, Mohammed. Thank you for getting back to me. HUD has a GS 0801 11 to 13. Okay, we got some promotion potential there. IRS has 12 to 14. Okay. Well, we all know which one is the financially more appealing one. I need your help. What is a better career for me? Like, okay, so the IRS, so agencies are humongous. What office within the IRS? Do you know the sub-agency that you're going into? And what is your objectives? What is your goals? Like, do you want to be a GS-15? Do you want to be a senior executive? Are you looking for something a little bit more low stress? There's so much more information that I don't really have. So I can't give you like super tailored advice. Good question though. All right, we have Mike. Mike, I got a tentative job offer, BOP, GS-12. I have a master's health administration, 6 years military health management, and a slew. Mike has got a slew of certifications. Yeah, you do. You got a lot. Is step 8 reasonable? Okay. So 6 years of so this is what I'm getting. You have a graduate level degree that's relevant to the job. You have 6 years of experience that's relevant to the job, and on top of that, you have certifications. Step 8. I think you can ask for step 8 for GS-12. I would also put in there that you taught it. So if you're if you were in the military doing health management, I'm sure you trained somebody, because the military loves training. Enlisted and commissioned officers, they love training. So I would also focus on the fact that you have trained people in the military in that industry, in that sector. So include that within your memo and ask for step 8. I think it is reasonable in this case. Okay? Good luck with that. Next question, RJ. I was denied a secret clearance a year ago. Since the year has passed, can I start a job that requires a clearance on an interim clearance? It depends on why. Why were you denied? And has that factor changed? So let's say, for example, you were denied because you had a lot of financial debt. So were you able to go on a payment program since then? If so, then that issue has been fixed. Did you, was it something related to drugs? Did you do drugs within the last 90 days and now the time has elapsed and now you haven't? If it's something that has been fixed, then yes. If it hasn't been fixed, if the issue is still there, you can go ahead and try. And what will happen is, yeah, they might put you on an interim clearance, but as soon as that investigation is finished, you could lose your job if the issue is still there on why you failed the clearance. So I would focus on that first. All right. Raymond. Good morning, Raymond. I got a final job offer that states accepted service, and the job announcement stated competitive. Oh, wow. The old switcheroo. I was surprised, especially since I'm currently a competitive. Will I no longer be able to apply for competitive if I accept? Okay. I don't know your background, but check this out. If you applied and accepted that job offer using a pathway like Schedule A or 30% disabled military veteran, those are non-competitive hiring paths, and those paths will put you in the accepted service. No matter if you're in the competitive service or not, they put you in the accepted service. Now, Schedule A, after 2 years, you can be converted. They can convert you back to competitive. With your question, you are currently a competitive service federal employee. So that means as long as you have 3 years, you're going to be fine. You can go to the accepted service and you can just come on back whenever you want you can always apply later on for competitive service jobs because you have earned career status, or what I like to call a tenure. So that's going to work out in your half. If you're a veteran by chance, then you don't even have to worry about it. If you're a veteran that did 3 years of active duty service, you're going to be fine regardless. So those are some of the possibilities that could be happening in your situation. Data is king. Good morning. I had an interview for a GS-12 3 weeks ago, and I'm still waiting to hear the results. Is there anything I can do in the meantime? Should I contact the department? Yes, I always recommend people wait 3 weeks after their interview and then respond to the individual that set up your interview. Ask them for a status update, because sometimes it could be a budget issue, or a lot of times is they went ahead and identified their top 3, let's say. So they're trying to get the first guy. First guy, he rejects the job because he has a better job offer. So now they're trying to contact the second guy. And the second guy, the references don't pan out. So maybe you're the third guy. So they're going through the process to check, vet everybody. And you're the third guy. So you don't hear for like 3-4 weeks, you don't hear something. But maybe you still could end up getting the job offer. So yeah, send them the email. All right, I cannot say that name, but I can say go. 4 goes. Okay. Good morning, Go. Hi, Armand. Can I follow up with the HR manager regarding my application that was referred 2 months ago to find out if I will be scheduled for a job interview? I would say absolutely not, because referrals do not mean you're going to get an interview. In one job announcement, you could have 50 people referred and only 8 of them get interviewed, for example. So the other 42 are not going to be told, hey, you're not getting an interview. They're just going to be left unreferred, and then hopefully they'll get an email saying you're not selected. But HR is not going to take the time to let the other 42 people know in that circumstance that they were or they were not. The best thing that you could do with your time right now is to focus on other opportunities that you're eligible and highly qualified for and continue to apply. If you want to increase your chances of getting an interview, you focus on the first page of your resume and you create a clear, compelling reason by way of an achievement. You showcase a strong achievement, and I would say the proudest thing you are. So you've done a lot of things in your current job. What are you the most proudest of? Is it relevant? Put that thing all the way up top of your resume. That's what I would do. All right. Good question. Oh, we got a super chat. Let's put the super chat. Where is that thing? Okay, there we go. Hey, Will Walker, appreciate the $5. He asked, do you keep your steps while moving up your career path? Yes, you keep your steps. So in this case, let's talk about it. You're a GS-12. You spent 3 years there. Let's say you're a GS-12 step 3. If you transfer, let's say you work at the IRS and now you're going to go to the Department of Energy. If it's still GS-12, then you're going to keep your step. It's going to go with you. If you get promoted, let's say you're a GS-12 now in the IRS and you're looking for a GS-13. So in that case, there's something called the 2-step promotion rule. So you're going to look at 2 steps above what you're currently making. Where does that fall on the next lower grade? And that is going to be your new salary. So it's not going to go from GS-12 step 3 to GS-13 step 3. No, it's going to go back. But the 2-step promotion rule comes into play. So it just really depends on what location you're at, what GS grade. So there's some stuff that goes into it, but you can look at the pay chart and you can figure out exactly what step you would be if you were promoted to the next GS grade. But good question. And like I said, if it was a lateral, then You don't have to worry about it. $10, Mr. Dukas. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. No question, but we'll get back to it. All right, here we go. We have Tierra. Tierra, good morning. I have 26 referred applications for 1101s and admin jobs. I did get selected for a CSR position for a disaster agency. I don't know if the position is remote, local travel, or if I have to travel. I would really look at that job announcement again, and it should show you. If you were selected as a job offer, the job offer should have that information. Whoever extended that job offer. So if it's not in the job announcement, it's not on the job offer, the person who sent you the job offer, you need to contact them in order to get more clarity on exactly what the expectation is with that position. But continue to apply. It looks like you're doing business and admin. So I don't know what your resume looks like, but keep on applying. All right. Next question. We got I'm so hip hop. Okay. I was applying every day like you recommended, but it seems like the job postings have drastically slowed down. What's going on? On an average day, what usually happens is we have about 10,000 jobs open to the public and about 20,000 open for competitive service or prior federal government. So let's look. Now, to just give you some brief overview right now, the government has hired a lot this year. Now, as far as the month of October, there was a couple of times last week that I saw the numbers were dropping, but I haven't looked at it in the last 3 days. So let's go look, and we can look at it together and see what is going on. All right. So bring up USAJobs, search. Let's find out. Right now we have 9,300 jobs open to the public. So that's about 700 less. But, what is that? That's like 7% less. And then for government employees or competitive service, there's 21,000. So federal employee jobs looks like they're about the same. This is about what it's been all throughout the year. It's been about 20, 21, 22. So we're right in the middle there. Open to the public's a little bit lower, but I bet tomorrow, Monday, a whole bunch of more jobs are going to open up. This number will be closer to 10,000 by tomorrow. So keep in mind also, federal employees, competitive service right here, this competitive service, if you're a veteran, you can actually apply to those. And if you're Schedule A, there's 3,000 more jobs that you could potentially apply for with this path. And then if you're a student, recent graduate, you have your own path right there. So I don't think there's anything drastically different. There was a slow decline, and by slow, like we just talked about, maybe 5, 6, 7% decline in the beginning of the month. And, we can talk about the election. The election is going to have some agencies holding off on perhaps maybe some of the senior level positions to see how that plays out. There's going to be a shuffle. Regardless, who wins the election, there will be a shuffle of executives. Executives will be coming and going. So that's going to shake things up a bit. But keep applying. Keep applying. Definitely. And then what else do we have? Okay. All right. Yeah, let me do this one really quick, and then we're going to get back to the previously submitted. Mimi, what job series to apply if you have warehouse experience? You can apply if you want a white-collar job. If you're looking at the GS pay scale, you can look at 0346. That's logistics. 0346. We can look at it together too. Let's go look at it. So, you can see it right here. 0346 is your best bet for a white collar job. Now, if you want to do blue collar, something more trade, this will be on the WG side. There is stocking. Like if you go down to 6,900 right here, you could be eligible for perhaps some of these. You got warehouse stocking, you have store working. There's also packing, perhaps. There's some blue collar options in the WG pay scale. But if it were me, I would probably prefer 0346. You kind of have to look at how your experience lines up. And once again, you would look at the OPM Job Series Handbook to help you out with that one. All right. Hey, thank you. Thank you, Dana. And we're going to get back to some of the previously submitted questions before I forget about those folks. And, okay, so we have Leo. Leo. What does Leo ask? Let me put that down. Leo says, will having bad credit be a factor or basis of not getting hired? I used to have very good credit, but because of my daughter's health issues and I lost a job, my credit score came down. I just started working, but it'll take some time. So yeah, government job is going to do a basic background check, NACI, real basic, looking at criminal history. And a lot of them do credit check. So with the credit check, one of the main things they're looking for, you can have a lot of debt. Maybe your debt to income ratio is a little off. As long as you have a payment plan that you're on and you have shown historic evidence of committing to that plan. So let's say you owe $50,000 to the IRS, but over the last 6 months, you're on a payment plan and you've shown payments for all 6 months. That's going to be evidence that you're responsible, that you're doing the right thing, and it won't be an issue. If you have a whole bunch of outstanding debt and there is no payment plan, that could potentially be an issue, yes. Good question. Chris. He says, I've been a GS employee for 10 years and I change jobs and get put back into probation. Is it still easy to let me go for any reason as if I only had a few months under my belt? Yeah. So if your probation means probation, it means what it means. So yeah, they can let you go. Now, why would you be under probation? Sometimes if you change agencies, they can put you under probation. Depending on the hiring path, they can put you on probation. Supervisory positions, you've never been a supervisor before, you're going to a new agency, let's say you go to Department of Labor, and now you're the deputy director. Yeah, they're going to put you on a 24-month probation in case you turn out to be a toxic leader and they can't count or rely upon you. They want to be able to let you go quickly. Now, if you've already been in the government for 10 years, if it's the competitive service, you have tenure, right? So you have career status, meaning that if they do let you go, then you can just go right back to applying to federal government jobs as a government employee. So you could do that. But it's one of the risks you take. And I tell people all the time, it's like above 90% rate that you're going to pass probation. When you don't pass probation, it's because severe personality disagreement, or if you're doing something immoral and then you get caught up with that, or you're habitually late or something like that. But they're not really looking to get rid of you, usually. I think people stress way too much about probation. Good question, though. Jay asks, if you move as a remote federal employee, do you get a pay change based on locality? Yes, you do. So a remote job, HR is going to ask you where is your home of address. So you're going to let them know based on that zip code, they're going to, synchronize your pay to that locality area. And people move all the time, so you can move. What I would say, though, is you probably don't want to be moving like 4, 5, 6 times a year and expect them to consistently, change your locality based on that. There could be a limit depending on agency policy. Maybe it's once a year, maybe it's every couple of years, but it will be based on the locality of the area that you're living in. It should be anyway. Okay, let's put that down. Let's get back to the chat. All right, we have our Coco. Good morning. Will be 9 years with California Veterans Home this November as a CNA. I was trying to get a higher paying job with my bachelor degree in health solutions. What position would be best fit? So if you want to lean into your medical, I would look at 0600. 0600 is all medical. So let's take a look at it real quick. We'll go to 06. So yeah, so this is where you're going to be at right here. Now 0601, this is usually like a physician and things like that. You got physician assistant, nurse. This is where you at. You should live right here. 0621. This is nursing assistant. This is exactly what you do. Now there are actual sign-on bonuses for this position you want to know where? In San Francisco, California. If you're willing to go to San Francisco, they'll give you a 25% boost to your salary. They'll give you a retention bonus. And I have a video coming out about this topic specifically in the next couple of weeks. But people are leaving in San Francisco because San Francisco is the most expensive place to live in this country. So it's hard to find nursing assistants willing to work. It's so hard, in fact, they're willing to hire non-citizens. They're willing, and I'm going to say who they are. They is the Department of Veteran Affairs. They're willing to hire non-citizens in San Francisco for a nursing assistant job. All right, I did some research on this recently. That's why I know about it. But yeah, look at them. We got 80 of them right here. Now, you're going to have to filter it based on your hiring path, but you can look into this job series. Okay. Let's say, what else do we have here? We got this. Aaron. Good morning, Aaron. what should recent grads with very little job experience like internships put on their resume? Okay. So what you should do if you're a recent grad, put your minimum wage experience. So if you worked at the Panera Bread for 6 months, put that on there because you did things there. Like you looked at a couple of charts, you did customer interactions, you have communication skills. Put your minimum wage experience on there. Okay, you did that. Put your volunteer experience on there. And if you haven't volunteered yet, I would start volunteering now. Volunteer your city, your state, your county, whatever, the church down the street, whatever type of church you might have, the school that's located somewhere near you, volunteer. PTA, that's fine, volunteer. You can earn skills through that. You can put that on your resume. Internship, put that on your resume. Outside of those, I mean, we're really looking at experience, but if you're trying to apply for a federal government job as a recent graduate, most of those positions come in at, let's say, I don't know, GS7, then they're not going to expect that much experience, but it's still going to be somewhat competitive. So you want to highlight experience if you have it, definitely. All right. Bing. Good morning, Bing. I bought your book. Great. I appreciate that. I'm in the process of a VA GS11 cleared, waiting for the step negotiation counteroffer submitted 3 weeks ago. I use C time, okay, for leave accrual. How long will federal job hit? When will you get the federal job? Okay, so you're doing negotiations right now. Once that's complete, you said you're cleared. So I'm assuming that the background check, everything is done. Once you get some sort of consensus when it comes to your step negotiation, after that, it really shouldn't be long. I would say probably within the next week or two. Once they come back and let you know, hey, we're doing step 8 or we're doing step 7, it should only be a week or two. They'll give you the final job offer. Once you get the final job offer, you're going to have to agree to a start date. And that's called EOD, or it's called entrance on duty. That's the first day that you arrive at your agency. Then you're going to do 3 days of orientation, 2 or 3 days of orientation brief. They're going to give you like familiarize with the agencies. There'll be people presenting on PowerPoints and you'll get a feel for what's going on. Now, leave accrual. Now, this is an interesting topic because if you're retired military, then only your deployment time will count, or I believe C time is the equivalent for the Navy. But the time that you're deployed, that counts towards your leave accrual. If you're not retired military, then the whole time will count. So if you have like 6 years in the Navy, then you will start off with your service computation date as 6 years. 6 years back. You'll get credit for 6 years. But if you have a retirement, they're only going to look at your deploy time. Okay. Yeah, good question. All right. Let's see. We got quite a few questions here. Let's connect with David. How you doing, David? Good morning. I have a tentative job offer for GS9 with the Customs and Immigration. Congratulations on your job offer. It awaits my return from deployment. Oh, okay. For polygraph, interview, medical, physical. My goodness. Okay. Should I apply for many jobs? I don't know, David. So one of the things you have to ask about yourself is, what type of experience do I have? Do I have multiple years of experience? Do I have 6, 8, 10 years of experience? Do I have strong education? Where am I going to be at after the military? Are you in the military? You're in the military. Where am I going to be at? Like, what's my location? And then you needed to identify what your market value is. Maybe GS9 is too low. Maybe you're coming in too low, especially if you're in like a city such as Chicago or San Diego. Maybe that is too. Maybe you should be looking at GS11 or GS12. And if that's the case, you have to answer that question. We could talk about it. I mean, if you want to give me a call after this, we could talk about it. But you have to answer that question. Look at your resume, look at your experience, and see what you have done and see the opportunities out there. When I look at a GS9, what I think in my brain, I think entry level. And the reason I think that way is because legally, you don't need to have any experience to be a GS9. You can get in with a master's degree and 0 experience. A person like you, David, you have experience. So you're not just somebody with a degree with no experience. That's not who you are. That means to me, why are you taking an entry-level job, David? That's what I would ask you. Maybe there's a good reason for it. Maybe there's not. But should you continue to apply for jobs? If you want a higher job than GS9, I would say yes. I probably would. Long way of me saying yes. Keep applying, David. All right. We have Denise. Denise, hello. Good morning. I've always believed that you have to go in at the low end, GS9. Okay, let me just stop you right there, Denise. That's not true. You don't have to come in at the low end, especially with what you're about to say. At 25 years, no, 25 plus years in accounting with a master's in business, which agency will likely consider me at GS 12 and 13 as a new hire? All of them, Denise. With somebody with over 2 decades in a graduate level degree, all of them would probably love to have you. It's just, how do you break through the process? And the one word is resume. Like, it's great that you have 25 years of experience, but you have to, your resume has to be like in a competitive format in order to break through the fog, because you have hundreds of other people bombarding the system. You have good experience, you have good education. You really could, I mean, listen, accounting. So what are we talking about? We're talking about 0-500. You could be eligible for the accountant, for the financial specialist, for the budget analyst. That's one thing. Second thing, what else? Business, right? 1100. You could do something in 1100 or 0-300. There's so many opportunities that you could potentially get. And none of the agencies are going to like turn their back on you. They're all willing to have you. Maybe the question should be, what agency has the most opportunities? And if that's the question, then it's probably the Department of Defense. They have the most opportunities because they're the largest and they love hiring. IRS has a lot too. IRS is probably tailor-made for you, honestly. Okay. I need to take a drink. Excuse me. All right. We got Weezer. Weezer asks, I'm in the running for an NTE 13 month, but it could be extended to 3 years. What's the best strategy to employ if I get this position to get a permanent one? There's no real strategy. The thing is, you're going to have to apply for a permanent job. The job is not going to transform itself into permanent. So you get in there. I don't know what agency you're in, but let's say you're in the agency. You're now a temporary employee. You need to start, what I would do, I'm going to tell you what I would do. I would start getting to know the hiring managers. You go into an agency, mid-size or larger, and typically you're going to encounter multiple hiring officers, right? Managers. I don't know why I said officers. Hiring managers. So let's say I was in the VA, and then like on a typical week at the VA, I would probably bump into 4 or 5 different hiring managers. So you want to establish a good rapport, a good relationship with them. And then you want to know what they do, what they're looking for, because when they are looking to hire, and let's say it's an internal position, what will happen oftentimes in meetings is they'll be like, hey, we have 3 positions open. We're trying to grow the team. Do you know anybody? Do you know anybody? Could you just send me their resume? People have actually said this over a conference room table. They've said, hey, we're hiring. Does anyone know anybody who's qualified? Email their resume. I'll take a look at it. So that's how streamlined the process can be. Now, of course, HR still has a role. They're going to have to vet it to make sure it's a legal thing. But you want to develop those relationships. But understand that position is not going to be permanent. It's only, they'll renew it. I've seen positions be extended twice. So there's one guy, he had a 3-year term position and they extended it by a year. And then the next year went by, they extended it by another year. But then after that, he had to go. So no, it's not permanent. Keep applying to other opportunities in your job series, in your area, even within the agency. So you should do that. Okay, next question, Alex. Hi, Armand. I interviewed off job fair last year. So you went to a job fair and you were interviewed. Okay, but you were not selected due to the budget of the agency. Okay. Do you think it's fine to reach out to the hiring manager directly for the current job fair? The branch was listed again. If you already have a pre-existing relationship, like if you've already had a conversation with them and you got friendly vibes and you have their email address, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But you don't want it to be like completely out of the blue, like they don't know who you are at all and you're just emailing them. So in your case, it seems like you already interviewed, so you met these people. So there's already some familiarity between you and them. So in that case, I would email, hey, I'm really excited to attend I see you guys are holding another job fair. I plan on attending. Hopefully we could, chat for a few minutes and I look forward to it. Something like that, something really casual. I don't see anything wrong with that. You're welcome. All right. Let's see what else we have here. I can't say that name. Jose, though. Jose, good morning. 25 plus years of experience. 10 years ago, I left my 9-year-old job on a sour note. Should I only list the past 10 years of experience? Also, not all experience is relevant to the same industry. In your situation, 10 years is an adequate amount of time to leave on your resume if you're competing for, let's say, GS11, GS12, GS13 in DC. 10 years is fine. You don't have to go past 10 years. Past 10 years, you kind of have to question the relevancy, right? Because if you're using certain software systems, that could have changed within the last decade. Or if you're an accountant doing finance, the laws could have changed within the last decade. So if you're listing past 10 years, especially past 15 years, you're almost kind of dating yourself at that point. So nothing wrong with leaving it for 10 years to answer your question. And also, relevancy is going to be king. So whatever the relevant experience is, you want to make sure you have that up towards the top. Make sure you're emphasizing and focusing on that type of experience. Okay, what else do we have? Let's get through some of these. Morgan Jones, 12 years competitive service in the government. I have a master's degree. I have a Schedule A. Is it good to apply to other positions without using Schedule A? I want to keep my competitive service. So yeah, Morgan, if you want to keep your competitive service, then yes, because if you use Schedule A, you're going to be in the accepted service. So for 2 years, and then you could be converted. So yeah, you have 12 years of service, you have the time and grade necessary to apply to higher positions to get your promotion. So if you want to get your promotion and you just want to use competitive service, just do that. Now, there could be some jobs that are, more focused towards disability. So I would still have that path open to you. To me, I wouldn't let it be a huge determining factor because you already have 3 years in the competitive service. So even if you were to jump in the accepted service, I don't think that's a big deal. Jump in there for 2 years and then it gets converted and then it's not a big deal. If that's what it would take for you to get promoted, for me, I'm the type of individual, I almost have the mindset of like get promoted by any means for most of my career. I'm like, I just need to get to the next level. Even in the military, I want to get to the next level. I had that mentality. Not everybody has that. So I would look at it as Schedule A opens up one more additional path. So overall, it's going to increase the probability of me finding the right position to get promoted. Maybe you don't want to be as aggressive as that, and maybe you value the competitive service a little bit more. So it's a personal decision. You can definitely just do it through competitive service. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay. Thing real quick, you want to know, is the VA still on a hiring freeze? There's certain areas, there's certain offices in the VA that are not hiring, or I'm not going to say it's a freeze. It's more like a hiring pause for certain clinical positions in certain areas throughout the country. But if you come on down to DC, I know their headquarter building, they're hiring. They're definitely hiring. VBA in certain areas, they're hiring. So it's not an agency freeze, no. All right, let's go back to the previously submitted questions and see what we got. Nope, that's not it. Let's get rid of that. Okay, we have Debo. Debo asks, if you're a government contractor or work in the federal government, when you work more than 5 years, is that when the pension kicks in? So you need 5 years to be fully vested. I don't know about this contractor business. Contractors don't have pensions. Contractors have 401ks. So if you're a federal employee, after 5 years, you are fully vested. Now, when do you get your pension? You get your pension, if you only do 5 years, you get it at 62. Now, let's say you do 10 years. You can get it, maybe 60. You do 20 years, you can get it at the minimum retirement age for most of us here. Like if you're, if you're 50 years old or younger, your minimum retirement age is at 57. So you can potentially retire at 57. Now, there's some modifications to the calculations if you take it at 57. But to be fully vested, it's 5 years. Now, interesting thing about the pension, they don't just calculate the years. It's also the month. So let's say you do 5 years and you have 1 full month. Well, that's going to count towards the calculation. But if you have a partial month, that will not count. Even if it's 3 weeks, it's not going to count. So if you're a federal government employee and you're trying to bulk up your pension, then keep in mind that you have to do the complete month. So that's a little interesting piece of info. I thought it was interesting. I don't know. Anyway, Rob asked, I retired after 21 years of the Air Force, and I'm now a 10-year JROTC instructor. I have a master's degree in human resource management. I'm looking to transfer to a GS job. I'm in my late 50s, who is a real estate agent and currently working on a PMP. Any advice? Okay, if you're real estate, let's look at a couple things for you. So first off, if you're real estate, let's look at 1100. We got to look at 1100. 1100 is business. And actually, if you look at 1100, look at 1170, realty. This could be something appealing to you. This could be something that matches your experience. Now you're going for a PMP. So that tells me that you have some project manager experience, because you can't even sit for the PMP unless you prove that you have project manager experience. So the closest thing I would say is 340. You see this? This is program management. So when you apply to take the PMP, you had to list out your experience. That same experience, you're going to tailor it for 0340 and see if you can draw some parallels between what you have done towards a program management type job. You can also type in project management. Most project management title jobs, they're usually IT project management, right? So you can look at those two areas, and that's pretty much what you should start with. Okay, next one is Jay. Jay asks, how does the hiring process work with an agency transfer? The new agency needs your current agency's concurrence. HR provides it. How long does it take to transfer leave to your old agency? So Jay, it depends on the agency. Let's say you're working at the Veteran Affairs right now. You take a job at the Department of Labor. Both of those HRs are going to communicate with one another. Now, the VA, because that's where you were working, they're responsible for transferring your SF50 to finalize it and to transfer it and to update it. Now, you sitting at the Department of Labor, this is your new job. If you're sitting there, it's going to take, I would say, 3 to 4 weeks before it's updated. It could even take 5 weeks. But it's something that you had to keep an eye on to make sure that your leave is being updated into the system, and also make sure that your TSP is not being interrupted. It shouldn't be. It really shouldn't be. But you always want to keep an eye, your leave, your sick leave, make sure the service computation date, make sure your TSP contributions, make sure your insurance. A lot of these forms are going to be asking you to fill out again, even though you are a current government employee. But to answer your question, 3 to 4 weeks, I would say. All right, good question. What else do we have? Let me pull that down. What do we got? MJG. Is there a database to find government jobs in Germany? I'm currently in Germany. For early next year, I qualify for German citizenships. Will dual citizenship hinder me? Dual citizenship will not hinder you, except potentially in some top secret jobs. It just really depends. Most jobs don't have a top secret. Most jobs don't have a secret clearance requirement. But if you're in Germany, that means you're going to be in a Department of Defense or Department of State job, and all of those have clear. Most of those overseas will definitely have clearance requirements. Now, hey, if you're looking for a government job in Germany, I mean, that's something you can do right now. We can do it right now together. Go up here and just type in Germany. Type in Germany in your location, run a search, and you're going to come up. There's over 350 jobs in Germany right now. So it comes down to, what do you want to do in Germany? You're open to the public. I don't know. Are you military? If you're in Germany right now, it makes me feel like you might be military, but I don't know that. If you're military, I would also check veterans. But if you're not, you can just click open to the public. There's 182 jobs. Now, I don't really know much about you, MJ, but I know that you probably qualify for this job right here. This is just administration. Administration in Germany. So you can click that. And there's probably a whole bunch of other job series you're going to be eligible for based on your experience. And you're going to look through here, and you're going to apply to the ones that interest you. Like this one right here. This one's in Germany. We have a program operations specialist. This is NF04, starts at 85. This goes over 6 figures. This is at base. Then you have this one at the Department of Army, cyberspace. There's a whole bunch of opportunities there. Germany, not just Germany, also Italy, Japan, South Korea, Spain, and then surprisingly, even in England. Sometimes there's a few in the United Kingdom. So if you want to do overseas, you can definitely do overseas. Okay. What else? We have Tierra. Hi, Armand. My friend is asking, what is the easiest pathway she should take to get hired with the federal government? She has a master's arbitration, appeal, contract, disaster response experience. Okay. So if you're looking at how to get into the government quicker, One way you can look at it is what hiring paths are open to you. She has a master's degree. When did she get her master's degree? Has it been within the last 24 months? If that's the case, look at recent student graduate. That's probably a path that might be able to get you in there with limited competition. Another thing you want to look at is direct hire authority, because your friend, I'm guessing, is not a veteran. And if you do not want to compete with the veteran preference, you can look at direct hire authority. You can search it on USAJobs. You'll see many jobs come up. What your friend needs to do is find out what her experience aligns with. You say contract, so I'm automatically thinking 1102. Arbitration and appeal, you could be looking at 0900. Disaster response, you could be looking at FEMA. You can definitely look at administration. But it comes down to the hiring path, the direct hiring authority, and if you're looking for hard to fill jobs, you know what's hard to fill in the government? Anything that has a retention bonus, because the government's paying people to stay. Why are people not staying? Usually it's an undesirable location, or it could be an undesirable job. And look at some of the ones in the Social Security Administration. They're having a hard time. Bureau of Prisons, they're having a hard time. So there's a lot of different ways. It really depends on what is her location, what is her exact experience, what hiring paths are eligible for her, and the job series. After that, you just got to come up with a strategy and then fix your resume, improve it, and then start applying consistently. Okay, I think you asked this question twice, but we got to it. Good. Then, Hirama, do you do resume service? So what I do is, if you look at the links in the description below, they should be there right now if you look at the description. So one of the options is there are example resumes down there. If you want to look like what is an example of what right looks like what is a strongly worded resume in which I can mirror the template, the style, the format. Those resume examples are at the bottom. So I do offer that. Now, when it comes to me actually putting my hands on your resume, I offer an editing service. So you have to send me a pre-existing resume, tell me the job series, and I will edit it for you if you sign up to the course option, which is down below as well. So you sign up to that. And my goal with that really is to give you the knowledge so you can do it yourself, because I don't believe someone should be paying for somebody to write their resume every single time. Because let's say you get a government job and you work at, wherever, Department of Treasury. After 3 years, you want to get promoted. Are you going to pay someone to write your resume again? You shouldn't, really. Everyone has the ability to actually write it. It's just that there's huge gaps where people, most of the time, the biggest issue is they think a private sector resume should work for a federal government job. And oftentimes, the vast majority of the time, it doesn't. So there's just some knowledge gaps. And my intent is to plug those gaps so that you can continue to do it into the future. But I do offer that. There's also, you can schedule a call down below and we'll talk about your specific situation, and I can look at your resume. I can offer some suggestions and some feedback. So I offer that as well. So you can look at all those options down below. But thank you for that question. Next question. The catch. What's the catch? Good morning. Does my daughter, just got her bachelor's, have a good chance of getting hired because I work for the federal government? Well, hopefully, we want the process to be as fair as possible. So not necessarily. There's nothing that's going to give her any preference points. Solely the fact that you have a current federal government job. You should be able to help your daughter by showing her your resume and giving her some of the insight that you have gathered while you're at your job. So she will have that advantage of you sharing your resume format with her and you helping her with her resume. She just got her bachelor's degree. What's going to help her is the recent student hiring path. That's going to provide a lot of help for her. But no, not solely because you have a government job. Nepotism in the federal government is illegal. It's not illegal in the private sector, but it is illegal in the federal government. But it does still happen. Now, what I would tell you, you'll always hear people say, well, my God, the whole family works up here. And in some cases, yeah. I mean, I've even seen some examples where, yeah, people are related and that's kind of odd. But I would tell you one of the biggest reasons why people get government jobs and they have family in the government is because now they know exactly what to do. Now they know the whole hiring process, where an average person that has no contact with anybody who's ever worked in the federal government, they have no idea. They don't know what they're supposed to be doing. So they're blindly applying. They're using their private sector resume. They apply 20, 30 times and they quit. Where somebody's daughter or somebody's son-in-law, they actually have a person that can sit with them and say, hey, listen, this is how you do it. This is how you get your resume. This is what you should be applying for. So they end up getting in on the competitive process. So it's not necessarily nepotism as it's a backroom deal and behind the curtain they're just, handing resumes back and forth. It's not supposed to be that way, and oftentimes it's not that way. But yeah, okay. I think I spoke enough about that. Frenchie's mom. I attended a virtual job fair for Schedule A recently. I said in the chat that I wanted a job with the Department of Labor. They posted an email. Should I email that person for my resume? Yes, Frenchie's mom. So if you have a Schedule A letter, there's a website you can go to. And what that person ended up doing is they probably sent you the email of a coordinator. I'm going to show you what the website looks like. It looks like this. This is for anybody who has Schedule A. If you don't have Schedule A, you can download a letter on Google. You can print it out. You can go to either your medical provider or your rehabilitative professional, and they can sign off on it. It can be a nurse, a physician assistant, a doctor, a rehabilitative counselor. They can sign off on it, okay? So this is what they did. Where are you at? I don't know where you're at, but you said Department of Labor, right? So let's look and see if Department of Labor is on here. There's labor. Let's see if they have anybody listed. Okay. So maybe they gave you this person's name. Did they give you Dolores's name or did they give you Felipe's name? Maybe they gave you one of their names, and this is the email address. So if you have Schedule A, you could email these individuals with your Schedule A letter, with your resume, with you explaining exactly the job series that you're focused on, and then you can ask them, are there any future upcoming positions or current positions that I can apply within your agency? You see Dolores right here, Dolores Garcia? This is not her main job. Her main job is not to be a coordinator. She's probably an administrative specialist somewhere, and this is her additional duty. And here's another thing. Dolores might have accepted a promotion recently, and she might not even be there. So what you could do if they don't respond to you for some reason, you can email or you can call their help desk, call the Department of Labor's help desk and ask them, who is the point of contact right now for Selective Placement Program Coordinator? Who is the program coordinator for selective placement in your agency right now? They might give you a completely different name. So you can always do that as well. But I tell everybody that has a Schedule A, it's worth doing this. It's worth going through this step. Even if you're not getting responses, even if just a few agencies respond, it could be the edge that gets you the job a little bit quicker. So I would consider doing that. Okay? All right. We got Denise. I got a remote job offer. That's what I'm talking about, Denise. That's amazing. Congratulations. With the IRS. Oh, it's a GS9. That's so strange because, almost all the 100% remote positions, they're almost always GS11 and above. So it shocks me that this is GS9 and it's remote, but that's cool. You have 25 years of, okay, when I try to counter, they say absolutely not. Is the issue with the actual type of position or should not I be applying for GS9? Okay. So like I mentioned earlier, some of the lower graded positions, they're made for like recent student graduate, or they're made for like the kind of the first or the second job a person has. In those type of jobs, a lot of times they won't negotiate the step level. Now in your situation, I'm curious, how did you ask them for a higher step? Was it like an email where you're like, hey, I want a higher step? Or did you combine and provide compelling evidence on why? Like, oh, my experience, you attach some of the awards you got. Maybe you got time off award. Maybe you have a monetary award. You attach that and then you submit it all together. Because it makes a difference. If you're just sending HR like 3 or 4 sentences, that's different than sending a memo, your award copies, your transcripts, like all that stuff in a package and then explaining why you're a superiorly qualified candidate. You might get 2 different results based on that. You're 100% remote though, and to a lot of people, that's what they're looking for. Now, if you're in a major city, then yeah, GS9, that's not going to pay you enough. 25 years of experience, you can definitely get a higher grade. Now, can you get a higher grade as 100% remote? It's going to be difficult, but you probably could. It's going to take a lot more time. Okay. Shay, hi Armand. At long last, I accepted a final job offer on Friday. This channel has been extremely helpful. Thank you for all your tips. Congratulations on getting your job offer. I know it can seem like a long journey many times, but you're there. You're at the finish line. You're going to start your job. Hey, congratulations. I'm really happy for you, Shay. Okay, let's see. Do we have any other questions? Oh yeah, like I mentioned earlier, had a small event in Fairfax, Virginia. I had about 7 people show up. I was able to review their resumes. I reviewed their resumes because they bought this book. They bought this book for $10, and it was just an event that I decided to hold really small. It was at a coffee shop. Really appreciate those people coming out. Like I said earlier, Lily came out, Nanan came out, Eric came out. It was nice to actually see people's faces and to be able to conversate with them. It's a lot different than this. Like this right now, what I'm doing right now, I'm looking at a camera. Yeah, it looks like I'm looking at you, but it feels like a cold, distant camera. But when I go out to the coffee shop and I see your eyes and I can actually have a human connection, it's a lot different. And I can explain it, a little bit differently in person. I'm thinking about doing that again, probably either November or December sometime. So I'm going to push out that information on the newsletter. And if you're not signed up to the newsletter, if you want virtual hiring events, sign up to the free newsletter. It's down below. And we'll go ahead and do that one again. So I appreciate it. And then let's see, do we have anything else before we close it up? Thank you. Your videos are great. Okay. Mohammed, yes, I have a question. Mohammed, if you got a question, go ahead and shoot it to me right now. I'll give you like the next minute. Go ahead and give me your question. Tavares, any upcoming hiring events? Hey, look at the newsletter. Those are the virtual hiring events. Okay. If you want in-person hiring events, you really need to go to USAJobs.gov, and there's a section where you can check and you can see the in-person hiring events. Or if you're interested in a specific agency, like the Department of State, for example, if you go on their website, they'll actually show you their physical events. Same thing with NOAA. They have physical events every single month. And it's more helpful if you're in the DMV area. If you're in DC, Maryland, and Virginia, a lot of them are headquartered, a lot of the agencies are headquartered here, so they have a lot of events. And DHS, of course, they have a lot of events. Nana, I met you yesterday at Fairfax to buy the book, but couldn't get a resume reviewed. Go ahead and email me. Everybody who met me, except for there was one guy who showed up without his resume, and he just wanted to ask me some questions. But everyone else, I believe I put ink to your resume. I put a red pen to your resume. So if there's some confusion there, go ahead and email me, and we'll get it sorted out. Right. B. Butler, several years ago, I had a similar experience. Okay, cool. Jose here. Can I use my MBA to get into the IRS with only 2 years of accounting experience? If yes, what level, what position? So you have 2 years of relevant experience. You have a graduate level degree. Definitely GS9, probably GS11. I would look at those 2 grades. GS9, GS11, look at 0500. 0500, there's a revenue agent. I believe it's 0562. There's a revenue agent position. Look at that. We got Bill Murray. Good morning, Bill. I've been watching some of your videos. Great content. I'm a government contractor, and I don't see the advantages of considering a government role directly considering the private sector contractor. So the major benefit, the whole reason why you would do it, really, what's going to attract you to a federal government is, number one, the pension, right? After 5 years, you're fully vested. You'll get money for the rest of your life at 57, 60, or 62. So you have a guaranteed pension that's not affiliated with the stock market. So that's guaranteed. That's an additional source of insulation. You also have a TSP. You get a 5% match. So that's one thing, right? The next thing, huge, stability and security, right? Economic times, they can go down in an instant. We have a presidential election. What's going to be the outcome of that? Nobody knows. What's going to happen next year? When's the next pandemic going to strike us? Nobody knows that, right? Nobody knows that information. Are we going to be in a recession? So to answer all of those worries, to alleviate some of that anxiety, a federal government job can provide the stability and the security that is simply not offered anywhere else in the private sector. Those are the 2 main reasons. I can sit here and talk to you about 7 other reasons, but really it comes down to those 2 main reasons. Okay. What else? Thank you. B. Butler. I regret not taking it. Okay. Mohammed. Okay, which department is better for engineering, as I'm an engineer? HUD or IRS? HUD's 40 minutes from my location. IRS is 20 minutes. Can you help me pick? So from a financial aspect, IRS is better because you said you had a promotion potential for GS14. So IRS wins that. For a commuting aspect, IRS wins that because it's like half the distance. What I would do, you're an engineer. So what I would do is say, where are the engineer positions located? Where's the promotion potential? Where's the growth? So are there more engineering positions in IRS or is there more in HUD? And we can look at that real quick. So this is what I would do. Let's get rid of that. Okay, so you're looking at, let's go to the IRS first. So one thing you could do is you go here on USAJobs.gov, you go to the department, you go to IRS. IRS is a sub-agency because Department of Treasury is the actual agency. Let's just do Department of Treasury. Let me get rid of Germany. That might help. Okay, so the Department of Treasury. Let's go and look. 0800 is engineering. Okay, so in the IRS right now, there's 8 positions for engineering. That gives you a somewhat of an idea on the positions, the need, the demand for engineering within IRS. There's 8 positions. Now let's go check out HUD. Whoops. All right, so there's 1 position. Okay, so IRS has a larger demand for engineers right now. So what that could potentially mean, look at those positions and see, okay, are there frequent promotion potentials? If you want to end up as a GS-15, if you want to potentially, move up past that, are those potentials, is that potential there? Also look at the best places to work. We looked at IRS. IRS has a lower ranking. I believe HUD has a higher ranking. Now, those are things that you're going to have to consider. What is best? I am not currently an engineer in any one of those agencies. So as it pertains to direct engineering experience and what the experience would be like, what I would do in your situation is I would go to LinkedIn and message somebody who works as an engineer in HUD right now or in IRS right now. You can do that. If you pull up LinkedIn, you can sort people by where they work, and you can sort people by an engineering degree, because you have to have an engineering degree in order to be an engineer, right? You need an ABET accredited engineering degree. So search that, find an actual engineer within that agency, strike up a conversation, use some commonality. You're both engineers. You both have ABET engineering degrees. So I would ask them, and they can give it to you from the perspective of an engineer. Okay. All right. Tierra, you're awesome. Thank you. Good old, man, hey, that old school pension, the CSRS, that one was way better than FERS. Like double what FERS is. So FERS actually didn't come out, it wasn't that long ago. That was an effort to save the government money because they're not paying as much. The government, they have a 3-pronged approach. They look at it as a stool with 3 legs. 1 leg is Social Security, 1 leg is TSP, and the other leg is the pension. So they want you to use all 3 legs in order to retire. All right. What else? Do we have anything else? MJ, years ago on USAJobs, I saw a job to be a radio DJ. Paying $100K to play. Yeah, that's cool. I saw one like a grizzly bear management where you have to have grizzly bear experience. I think at the Department of Interior. That was an odd one too. Really weird. But okay. All right. Hey, appreciate everyone spending time with me this morning. And then tomorrow's Monday. Hopefully everyone can get ready, get prepared for their Monday. And I look forward to talking to you. I'm going to do another one of these, every month. That's how we do it around here. Once a month, the last Sunday of the month, we'll do a live stream. And make sure you sign up for the newsletter. I'm going to probably do another event. I'll invite you to that if you want to come on out. Appreciate that. Appreciate everyone's time. I wish you the best of luck in your pursuit to a better job. Okay. Bye-bye.